You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your coach, Jason.
This is your coach, Danny.
Fans, we have a NFL Sunday wrap-up show for you today. Listen, that is what we're going to be talking about. These NFL games were outstanding. And let me just tell you, Danny, the Packers went ahead and put on the Bears once again. And there have been so many memes out there about Aaron Rodgers owning the Bears yet again. I don't know how many games in a row this is. I want to say it's like 7 games in a row or something like that. Danny, this is just something that the Packers just tend to do.
Yep.
They tend to get right or get back right. They tend to get on a good foot against the Bears. That's what happens. And I honestly thought that this game was going to be a little bit closer than what it was. It was 27-10. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a pedestrian game, in my opinion, 19 for 25, 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it was really the running game of the Packers that really, opened things up in Dawn, where Aaron Jones had 15 carries for 132 yards and a touchdown. And so, man, Danny, this was just a blowout game, in my opinion. Sammy Watkins stepped up, 3 receptions for 93 yards. Randall Cobb had a great game as well. There's something against these Bears that Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers that tend to bounce back, if you will. And so A.J. Dillon carried the ball 18 times, 61 yards. Did have a fumble, sat on the bench there for a little bit of time. But, man, the receiving core of the Packers finally stepped up a little bit here. As I mentioned, Sammy Watkins with the big game. Randall Cobb, 3 receptions, 37 yards. Dobbs, 2 receptions, 27 yards. Allen Lazard, 2 receptions for 13 yards and a touchdown. I mean, come on, 3 targets for your quote-unquote number 1 receiver. Always have my suspicions about Allen Lazard being a number 1 receiver. First of all, because of his medical history, he always gets hurt in the season. He always misses multiple games in the season. Allen Lazard is not a true number 1 receiver. Maybe he'll prove that this year. But to have 2 receptions for 13 yards against a lowly Chicago Bears team, and maybe it was just more so the fact that they wanted to feature the running game more so. But, Danny, this was a blowout victory for the Green Bay Packers. What say you?
Jason, the Bears, they shot themselves in the foot a couple times in this game.
Sure did.
One particular play, 4th and goal.
Yep.
Where, in my opinion, if this was in Chicago, that would have been a touchdown by Justin Fields. He went into the shotgun, and they did a quarterback sneak, and the ball looked like, I mean, it was a close call.
Yeah,
it was tough.
Yeah.
So I think Green Bay got some home cooking there. Where
I don't know why they went. I don't know why they went in the shotgun in the first place, man.
I don't understand that. I didn't understand the call at all.
That was
if you're doing a QB sneak, just do the sneak.
Come on, yeah.
Do it like Brady and all the rest of them do. Just go straight in, and you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. That would have been 24-17. And now to switch some of the momentum, and they may have had a shot because they started running the ball like crazy on Green Bay. David Montgomery just started going off.
Yep.
Like they couldn't even touch him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Khalil Herbert did his thing. That's when they drove all the way down, and then they didn't score, and then that was the game after that. Green Bay got Aaron Jones going. There was some news about him getting 8 touches. So they rectified that, got him going. It was the Bears, man. Since we're hitting on our home teams, Jay, my boys, Atlanta played the Rams, and the Rams were up 31-10 in the 4th quarter. And guess who came back in the fourth quarter this week? Atlanta. Cut it to 31-25. And at the end, Mariota threw a ball in the end zone to Bryan Edwards. And Jalen Ramsey jumped like 4 inches higher than Bryan Edwards, just snagged it and intercepted it in the end zone. Or it was the defining play in the game, but it could have been a comeback victory for Atlanta based on what they did last week, because they were flat coming out. And then Mariota got going. Drake London is going to be a player as long as he has some consistent quarterback play. He had 8 catches yesterday, 86 yards and a touchdown. Mariota went for 196, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And I think it's one of those games that now they have some confidence. The problem here is Kyle Pitts. 2 catches again. And Arthur Smith is getting a little irritated in these press conferences. I don't know if you peeped them out, but every week he coming in and snapping. So he needs to figure out the Kyle Pitts thing and getting him the ball. You have a number 1 tight end, a number 4 pick. He needs to be in the offense.
Yep, pretty much.
But gotta give it Atlanta tried, man. They gave it their all at the end. I didn't think they had a shot in this game, and it looked like that until the fourth quarter, where they actually showed some life. Got a block punt for a touchdown, caused some turnovers on defense, and then they're right there. So we'll see next week, but it was a good effort against the Rams in the fourth quarter. What say you, Jason?
Man, Danny, listen, I peeped this game out a little bit. You're right, man. Falcons came back. Yeah, Danny. So looking at the bottom of the ticker, I saw that the Falcons were coming back, and I was like, let me go ahead and flip it on back. Flipped it back, and, it looked like they had a good chance to win here. Jalen Ramsey with the snag interception in the end zone there, which made up for his drop pick 6 earlier in the game. But nonetheless, man, Danny, I think the Falcons, I don't know, man. They got a tough schedule.
No.
And they're 0-2. And we'll get into the question a little bit later on here about which 0-2 team can make the playoffs. And speaking of an 0-2 team, Danny, the Indianapolis Colts, oh my Lord. 24-0 against Jacksonville Jaguars. The Indianapolis Colts always have some form of issue with the Jacksonville Jaguars, man, but I did not see this coming. Not no 24-0. You worked the whole week. You travel down to Jacksonville, and you don't score? Not even a field goal? The Indianapolis Colts have some problems here, Danny. I think they'll fix them. I really do. I think they're going to fix them. And I think they're going to be competitive yet in this division. But it's going to be – they better be thankful they have 17 games. Jonathan Taylor, 9 carries, 54 yards. I don't think he got enough touches. I mean, Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, was ice cold.
He was.
16 for 30, 195 yards, 3 interceptions, 5 sacks. I don't think Atlanta fans are missing that. It may be time to press the red button. Maybe the tie last week actually helps them out, Danny. So we'll see what happens. But, boy, the Indianapolis Colts get blown out. What say you, Danny?
Jason, Jacksonville is the house of horrors for the Indianapolis Colts. They cannot – I don't know what it is with Jacksonville and Indianapolis. I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know if it's just a mental block when they play Jacksonville. But Frank Reich and that whole coaching staff better be on alert, because you don't tie the Texans and then lose to the Jaguars to start your season where you have Super Bowl aspirations. It doesn't, you can't do it. They already got rid of the kicker because he missed field goals against Houston. So they're antsy right now. Got rid of Carson Wentz after what he did last year in that blunder against who? Jacksonville. Right? You bring in Matt Ryan. You have this offensive line. Defense is stable. You got Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman didn't play yesterday. Michael Pittman Jr. But you do not lose to the Colts or the Jaguars if he's out. That's where you just feed the ball to Jonathan Taylor and let your offensive line win that game for you. And that's a tough one. So I'm curious to see how long that leash is in Indianapolis for the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't bounce back next week, I'm definitely feeling changes are on the way.
And Danny, let's just stay in the AFC conference here where, man, the Jets, when it goes ahead and beat the Browns, man, what in the hell happened, man? There's been a Joe Flacco sighting. Joe Flacco, yes, that Joe Flacco, 26 for 44, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns, man. I did not see this coming, Danny, not from the New York Jets. The Browns, I think, missed the opportunity here to pull off a victory. And what say you?
Jason, this is one Cleveland's probably going to kick themselves in the butt later in the season because they gave up a lead, and it was a game. I'll tell you one thing, my pick'ems got jacked up this week. But we'll get to the rest of these games. But that was a game Cleveland should not have lost, and congratulations to the Jets for pulling that one out and sticking with it.
Danny, a fascinating game I thought was the Dolphins against the Ravens, man. The Dolphins were down big time going into the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, did Tua show up. Tua ended up with 36-50 for 469 yards, 6 touchdowns. The Cheetah, Tyreek Hill, 11 receptions for 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson had a great game, Danny. Let me just say this. I think Lamar Jackson is making a statement here. He's trying to get paid, man.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson is trying to get paid, and I don't blame him one bit. I mean, Lamar Jackson had a phenomenal game, 21 for 29 for 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. He ran for over 100 yards on 9 carries, man. 119 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries, Danny.
Yep.
I mean, what else can Lamar Jackson do? And it's going to have to – I think the Ravens got to look at their defense, man, because I'm just looking at the Miami receiving core, and I knew this going in. And I said this. I said, watch out for Miami because their offense – they got a nice offense, man. I mean, Tyreek Hill, like I mentioned, 11 receptions for 190 yards, 2 touches. Jalen Waddle, 11 receptions for 171 yards, 2 touches. Man, come on. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, man? This is a lethal offense, Danny. And Miami's going to be big problems for the AFC East. What say you?
Jason, Tua is the key.
Yep.
I said in preseason, if he's playing, he has the weapons. Now it's up to him to actually execute. He executed yesterday for sure. He owes the Ravens secondary thank you note because I don't know what happened to them. They gave up 2 21-point leads yesterday. But that was a tough one because Lamar showed out as well. Mm-hmm. And to lose a game like that where you had total control in the fourth quarter, it could turn your season upside down, man. So that's probably gonna be the theme of a lot of these week 2s. We're gonna see how they react because there are a lot of leads lost in the fourth quarter.
And Danny, the Raiders Cardinals game, man, oh boy. I was looking at this game, Danny, and I thought the Raiders had this in the bag. I thought they had this game in the bag, and lo and behold, these cats went ahead and literally figuratively fumbled the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And needless to say, they take an L in their home opener. 29-23, Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, 31 for 49 for 277 yards and a touchdown. I don't know, Danny. I've been pulling for the Raiders, man. I'm not gonna lie, because I want Devontae to do well, and he is doing well.
Yep.
Devontae Adams, well, he didn't do a whole lot this game. Let me take that back. He only had 2 receptions for 12 yards and a touchdown. And chances are it's probably the type of defense that the Cardinals were playing on Devontae, but nonetheless, man, I was really expecting the Raiders to win this one. What say you, Danny?
This game was wild. For those of you who did not watch it, if you can watch some highlights, that fourth quarter, Arizona was down 16. came back, scored a touchdown with no time left. Kyler Murray actually ran it in. They needed a 2-point conversion. He threw a dart to AJ Green and the back of the end zone. I don't know how in the world he got that through there. And they tied the game, and then they went to overtime. Renfro fumbled, like you mentioned.
Yep.
They ran it back for 6, and that was they ran out the stadium with the victory that they shouldn't have had. So another team, Las Vegas, 0-2. Tough start for them because they had 2 games they possibly should have won. And now they're on the other side of it. So we'll see how they come back from this.
And speaking of 0-2, the Cincinnati Bengals fall to 0-2 against the Dallas Cowboys. The defending AFC Conference champions, man, there's some issues happening here, man. I think everybody's gunning for them. Everybody's gunning for them, and they're going to have to do something to this O-line. Joe Burrow, 24 for 36, 199 yards, only one touchdown, sacked 6 times. You're not going to go anywhere being sacked 6 times, Danny. So it seems like the Cincinnati Bengals have to do something again to their O-line. Something's got to happen. And I think these teams are realizing just how these teams are realizing that the offensive line is the weak link in the chain. So Jamar Chase, 5 receptions for 54 yards. T. Higgins, 6 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown. Still not enough again against the Cowboys. I think that one of the things the Cowboys decided to do is run the ball. Zeke Elliott only had 15 carries for 53 yards. Tony Pollard, 9 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. I think they decided, let's go ahead and help Cooper Rush, who actually had an interesting game, man. 19 for 31. Damn. These things just be popping up, man. Cooper Rush actually had an okay game, man. 19 for 31, 235 yards, a touchdown. I think they got something going here, that being the Dallas, but was it more Dallas winning it or Cincinnati losing it? That's a big question. So we'll see what happens. What say you, Danny?
Yeah, shout out to we talked last week about how the Cowboys will react without Dak. And if they would go out and get somebody or ride it out with Cooper Rush. And yeah, he did what he needed to do. He played his game, and shout out the Cowboys defense, locked down Joe Burrow. And the fourth quarter, they almost lost too. The Cowboys almost let that lead slip away. But if their defense is playing like they were yesterday, it can be consistent, they're going to be in all these games. So their defense is dominant. And Joe Burrow is not comfortable in the pocket. You can see it. And until they get him right, and if that offensive line keeps playing like it did last year, they need some consistency. And until they get that consistency, Joe Burrow is going to struggle. He kind of looks like he's hearing footsteps where they're not there sometimes, and the pocket's collapsing on him, and it's just making him very uncomfortable to be consistent and get it to his receivers, because he has some stud receivers. But until they get that right, Cincinnati's going to struggle as well.
Yep, agreed there. And just some honorable mentions here. Buccaneers Saints divisional game 2010. Buccaneers beat New Orleans in New Orleans. A whole lot of fighting going on. Some ejections going on. Mike Evans.
Man, Jason, can I speak? How are they going to limit or suspend Mike Evans? Because it can't. I gotta look more into that, but I'm like, come on, man. It was in the heat of battle. He was protecting his quarterback, and Fournette was right there too. So I'm like, how's Fournette skate, but not Mike Evans? But Lattimore gets under their skin. He's always been under Mike Evans' skin. So Mike Evans took that shot.
Hey, look here. I think the Packers would be more than happy to take any type of ejections of Mike Evans going into this game, man. We'll take it, man. Another honorable mention. Listen, man, the New York Giants against the Panthers. New York Giants are now 2-0. Gotta give credit where credit is due. Daniel Jones had a pedestrian game, though, Danny. I don't know how much longer he gonna last up in New York. 22 for 34, 176 yards and 1 touchdown. I don't know how much longer he gonna last. I think his rookie contract is set to expire here.
Yes.
I don't think the Giants take him, extend him out, Danny.
Agree.
Another honorable mention here real quickly, the Seahawks and 49ers. Unfortunately, a huge injury here to Trey Lance, where he is out for the season. Had to put his ankle in an air cast, has to have surgery on it. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, and he does obviously quite well. 27-7, 49ers actually wins the game, and the Seahawks drop down to 1-1. Geno Smith, 24 for 30, 197 yards and 1 interception. And maybe there's some more tape on Geno Smith, but nonetheless, Danny, I think Garoppolo is here to stay. And I'm going to say this too, Danny, real quickly.
Yep.
I think Garoppolo got to be kicking himself because he renegotiated the contract to come back, I think, for less money.
Yep.
This is only game number 2. So he going to be playing a full season under reduced money? I mean, granted, you just don't know when injuries happen.
Yep.
But, man, I know he got to be like, man, you mean to tell me I'm taking less money and playing the same number of games?
Yep. But I think this actually may play in his favor if everything goes well and he stays healthy. That's the other thing with Jimmy G. He's one of those quarterbacks, too, where he gets hurt a lot. And his longevity, we'll see how it goes. But I think that actually puts the 49ers back in top of the NFC discussions with him being there at quarterback.
And, Danny, so since we have a few 0-2 teams, let me just ask you this. Which 0-2 teams are going to make the playoffs? Right now, we have Cincinnati at 0-2. We have the Colts at 0-1-1. We have the Las Vegas Raiders at 0-2. We also have the Carolina Panthers at 0-2. We have your Atlanta Falcons at 0-2. So which one of those teams do you feel are going to actually make the playoffs? And let me just say the Houston Texans are also 0-1-1.
When I look at the Raiders, I think they have a tougher road to turn this around. They do have the firepower to do it. So does Cincinnati. That's why I think Cincinnati's got hit in the mouth a couple times now off that Super Bowl high. And this is their moment to figure this out. Now, if they go like 1-4, 1-4, then their season's over with. But I think Cincinnati is the team. Second are the Raiders. The Colts, I take that back. I'm going to say the Colts over the Raiders. The Colts division is weak.
It's weak.
So they have the biggest shot to turn it around. So I'm going to go Cincinnati, Colts, Raiders. Panthers and Texans, no. So those are the 3 I'm considering.
I gotcha. I would say this, Danny. I think the Colts have the best shot purely because of their division. And I'm going to say this, that tie may actually help them out, quite frankly. And there's 17 games. I think all the statistics about which 0-2 teams and everything, being that there's an additional 17 game, I think there's room for the opportunity to still make the playoffs here, even more so. I'll say this, Danny. I've been rooting for the Raiders. I think they're going to pull it together. I really do. It's going to be interesting to see how they pull it together. I tell you that much. But I think they're going to do it. Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.